was a hot and sticky afternoon. It was October in 2011. We were deep in the interiors of Sarawak. Sarawak is Malaysia's largest state, the least populated state in the country, and sits on the island of Borneo. So we were deep in the jungle at a longhouse in Kuala Balingian. Kuala Balingian is a small town, and we were there to look for, of all things, for innovations. We heard of this man called Bao, son of Lumpo, and he had developed these amazing paddy processing machines made from used motorcycle parts. But I'm not going to tell you about him. I want to tell you about this old lady I met at that very same longhouse that very afternoon. We were on this journey that we had just started. It was called Jejak Inovasi, or Innovation Walk. And one of the things I wanted to do was talk to the oldest living person in the longhouse. So we had a few volunteers with us from the local colleges. They were from Polytechnic Muka. And one of them, Jackie, spoke the local language, and she went out to search for this oldest woman. And why I was looking for her was because my mentor, Anil Gupta, whom I aspired to be when I grow up, not just in terms of knowledge, but also because he has a very nice beard that I would like to grow. Anyway, he said in his own journeys in India with the National Innovation Foundation, he invariably gets the best nuggets of knowledge and insight from the village elders that he meets. So I was excited to do this. This was the first time I'm meeting a village elder, right? So she finds this old lady. She must have been 90 years old. And from afar, I see her, and she's gorgeous. You know, she has this look of serenity and wisdom, and she was like Yoda from Star Wars, but prettier, you know? So I was excited. I wanted to talk to her. So we said our hellos, and Jackie translated, and I was eager to get to this wisdom part, this knowledge part. So I asked her with bated breath, I said, what do you do when somebody gets really ill in the longhouse? Where do you take them? So the old lady, she closes her eyes. She listens to the translation that Jackie is saying to her. She takes a deep breath. And I'm wringing my hands, right? This is going to be great. This is going to be wisdom. So she clears the throat. I can't stand it. She's sitting on the floor, so I'm on my knees. I'm in her face. I'm like, give me the wisdom. I didn't say that, of course. Malu siot kalau buat macam tu. But I didn't say that. But that was in my heart. I wanted to say that. But she clears the throat. She goes, enti bisi orang sakit. Gumpui orang tuai. Bawa anjung orang sakitnya ke. And she looks at Jackie, and all of us look at Jackie. And Jackie clears her throat, and she translates, if someone gets really sick in this longhouse, we convene the elders. And we will take the old person too. And she looks back at the old woman. And we look back at the old woman. Where do you take her? Where do you take them? And she smiles and she goes, to ke hospital. So we're like, what? So I was a little bit disappointed with that. But I took it as it was showing how far we had come as a nation in the 60 short years that we have been independent. 9 days ago, we celebrated Malaysia's 60th Independence Day. And in 60 short years, an old lady who lives deep in the interiors of Sarawak, who was born way before independence, instinctively falls back on the Malaysian healthcare system if something goes really, really bad, right? So this is a good sign for us. This journey that we were on, Jejak Inovasi, started in 2011 when the then Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Maximus Ongkili, in early 2011, in January or February, visited India. And he met up with Professor Anil Gupta in Ahmedabad. And he saw firsthand the amazing work that the National Innovation Foundation of India did by going through to the interiors of India and searching for innovations. And when he came back, he told me, he said, Aziph, we need to emulate this. We need to put up this program in Malaysia and find innovations in our own countryside. And I'm like, sir, do you realize that they walk by foot 200 kilometers over 10 days? And you know how Malaysians hate to walk, right? If you've ever been to a popular shopping complex or a restaurant, you know that the parking spots right in front of the door, penuh, full. People double or triple park and they put their numbers on the dashboard, right? You can call if you're blocked. And you look 50 feet down, there's 50,000 empty parking bays. So Malaysians don't like to walk. There's a national program to make Malaysians walk. So I'm like, how am I going to get people to walk 200 kilometers, boss? And he goes, don't worry, Aziph, you can Malaysianize. So Malaysianize I did. We ditched the walking part. We got air-conditioned SUVs and 4x4s. They slept in sleeping bags in tents, and yeah, we're not going to sleep in sleeping tents, right? So we got air-conditioned hotel rooms with hot showers. But notwithstanding the creature comforts that we had, we managed to discover thousands of innovations in our countryside, so much so that I'm so proud to be Malaysians because we are all so creative and innovative. Of course, we not only looked for old people in this journey of ours, we actually, as a matter of fact, went out of our way to talk to young people. We went to 142 schools. We trained over 300 teachers in our innovation process. 700 over youth like Jackie came along on our walks and helped us on this journey. And at the end of the day, we reached 23,337 school children. And I'm so amazed at the creativity and innovation that I personally met, that I'm sure and I'm certain in the hearts of my hearts that our country, Malaysia, will become a great nation leading the world if only our youth are given the freedom and the ability to explore their creativity and translate their innovation to something great. Two shining examples of this youth creativity are these young women. They were 15 years old when I met them, Amanda and Tivia. They won a design competition that we held, and they had a new, improved cockroach trap. So we took their idea, and we built it all the way up to an industrial-scale prototype. And even today, as far as I know, it's still up there. If you want to build this, if you have a company to build this new and improved cockroach trap, you can make a lot of money, I believe, because it fills a huge gap in the marketplace. So in the 6 years that I spent combing the nation to look for innovations, I discovered that they come in all shapes and sizes, right? You can't pigeonhole what an innovator, somebody who is creative, looks like. Wasina Kuntagil lives in Sabah, in Ranau. She went to Kota Baru, Kelantan, actually, to learn to become a religious school teacher, and she taught for a few years as an ustazah. But then she discovered a way to take a traditional dusun delicacy, tuhau, and process it in such a way that it became more palatable and more delicious to a much wider audience. So now she sells it widely throughout Sabah, even here in the peninsula. She even exports it to countries like the Philippines. And now today she makes more than 10 times what she used to make as an ustazah by selling this delicacy. Nur Azman here is from Kerinci in KL, and he developed this board game called Heroes. It teaches people how to prepare for disasters, which we never think about. So he tours the country with organizations like Mercy Malaysia, the Red Crescent Society, to teach people about this. How do we prepare ourselves and our families and our nation to be ready for natural disasters? People like Rosanna Musa, who left a dream job. She was an artist's assistant. So all she did was help her boss fly around the world, have shows and exhibitions, and that's her job. But she left that to pursue her own artistic vision. She was a ceramics artist. So she went back to her hometown in Malacca, and her grandmother gave her a small plot of land in what used to be a paddy field, and she opened a studio called the Bendang Studio, which today produces amazing, world-class ceramics. But in that process, she also developed this small kiln to fire up her ceramics. And she made it herself with easy-to-find materials. It was portable, and it cost a fraction of what she would have had to pay if she would buy this kiln from overseas. This man's name is Sitio Akang. He built this paddy thresher machine. He's a self-taught car mechanic, and he has a small car workshop in Keningau. But he built this machine because those that are imported are so expensive, and he thought he could do it better, which he did. So he built this machine. It works better, faster, and is much, much cheaper than the models that you could buy if you were to buy it from overseas. So there are many types of innovators, and one other man I'd like to tell you about, his name is Adnan Lee. And Adnan Lee told me that he used to sleep in the sidecar of his parents' motorcycle. His parents were fruit sellers in wet markets around Kuala Lumpur, in Pasar Pudu, in Petaling Street. So he would sleep there, he said. So when he finished high school, which he didn't do very well, he failed basically all subjects, he went into the business. Failure after failure after failure, he lost all his money selling fruit because he realized that it was the model that needed to be changed. So he founded the MBG Fruit Company. Now, MBG is a premium fruit seller located in premium shopping malls around our country and even in the region. And today, he sells in excess of 2 million ringgit of fruit every single day. Not bad for a kid who used to sleep in a sidecar of his mom's motorcycle. He's also very tall. I don't know if that's because of the fruit that he eats. 3 lessons that I learned, more like characteristics of successful grassroots innovators. From the thousands that I've met, I realized that there's these 3 characteristics that differentiate them from the rest of us. And number 1 is that they are crazy, crazy persistent. They never give up. They can't give up. They won't give up. They keep going. This name's man is Philippus Jani. And when I first met him in his home, we clicked immediately because we have the same love for music. We're about the same age. He was telling me about a story of him learning to learn the saxophone about 18 years ago. And his friend moved out of town, bringing the saxophone with him. He was heartbroken. The Malays have a saying, makan tak kenyang, mandi tak basah, which aptly describes this feeling of heartbrokenness. You eat, but you don't get full, and you take a shower, but you don't get wet. So he said he spent a whole night sleepless thinking about how do I get my hands on another saxophone? And he said he even thought about stealing it, but because he was a staunch Christian, the Bible says, thou shalt not steal. I will not steal, but I will make one, he decided. So the very next morning, he started to find whatever tubular objects he could find, PVC pipes, metal pipes, brass pipes, plastic pipes. That didn't work. He tried to carve one out of wood. That didn't work. So finally, around his house grew abundantly bamboo. So he cut down a few stalks and he managed to build one. After 4 or 5 years, that instrument finally made some sound, which he said sounded like a dog about to die. And it was so bad. But then he kept on. I mean, any normal person would give up at that point. But he kept going and he kept going. And 10 years after that, he now sounds like this.
Prasangka orang ramai menyatakan bahawa belum.
So that's Philippus Jani. He has now performed in many, many cities around the world. He even cut a song with a popular Indonesian singer, backing him up on his instrument that he calls the sampuring. And he's just an amazing, amazing guy. He sells his instruments online, but he only makes a few of them a year because it takes a lot of effort to even build one. And that's not what he wants to do. The second characteristic that I found was that people who are inventive and innovative like this are quilt makers. And by that, I don't mean that they sew their own quilts. Some of them do. But they take whatever it is on hand and they make something amazing out of it. Many of us live our lives as jigsaw puzzle solvers. You know what I mean? There's a 10,000-piece jigsaw, and we're almost solving it, and there's one piece left, and your mom's vacuum cleaner sucked it up. What do you do, right? You can't solve the puzzle. And we live our lives like that, and we're waiting for our professor, our lecturer, our mom, our dad, our boyfriend, girlfriend to give us this one exact piece that we need. And if we don't have it, we say, hey, I can't solve the problem. But these guys take whatever it is on hand and make something amazing, just like Rusmira Ramli here. She's a nurse in Perlis, the smallest state in Malaysia, and she waged a war against this thing. That's a IV stand, because she said so many doctors and nurses trip over them in the small hospital rooms that we have in our country. So she developed a hook to hang over the curtain railing. At first, she made it with whatever she had on hand. Finally, she paid a metal worker to do it. When we found her, she had a working prototype, and now we've built a medical-grade product, and we're testing it out in several hospitals around the country. And I say this with much love, but innovators are crazy, right? They're nuts. In every village around the country, and dare I say, in every country around the world, there are people who we feel are crazy. They sit in their workshops or in the garages, and they make stuff up, and they don't join community events, they don't go to weddings, they don't talk to you much, and they're crazy. So this guy, Pak Suman, I love him, is a typical village crazy guy. But he built something quite amazing. There's these hand drums called kompang, and I'll just talk over this video. It's okay, you can play it. These kompangs typically are covered with animal hide from goats or cows, and you hit it and you make a drum out of it. Can you play the audio, please? So his troupe now uses X-ray films covering that hand drum, and it is now used widely around the country. We actually bought many units from him and sent it to kompang troops around the country for them to test out. So this is now widely used as a new type of instrument developed by a man who was so scared to talk to us when we first met him that he sat on the floor, quiet, literally too terrified to open his mouth. So now he's singing on video. So thanks, Pak Suman. So there are 3 truths that I've discovered that I feel would improve your cognitive toolkits if you took it home with you. And number 1 is that innovators come in all shapes and sizes. It could be any one of you, right? And you can meet anyone on the street, in the market, in the deep interiors of our country. Do not underestimate them. Professor Anil Gupta has this amazing saying. It goes, the minds on the margins are not marginal minds. Think about it. Number 2, take these 3 characteristics: persistence, quilt making, going crazy once in a while. I know you UTP kids go crazy often, but keep it within you. But if you do these 3 things, you're persistent, you take whatever it is in hand to build amazing stuff, and you break the norm, challenge the norms once in a while, I think we will all improve our lives if we do this. And number 3, we need to look for the unexpected. You need to have an open mind and an open heart and have the ability to find something new wherever it is you are. But, ladies and gentlemen, there's one place that we often overlook and that can be the source of amazing innovations, and that is right here within your own hearts and within your own minds. What if you could solve cancer? What if you could solve the problem of the broken food chain in the world that sees half of the world throwing away half of their good food directly to garbage dumps when the other half sleep every night hungry? What kind of fairness is there? What if we could all solve these problems that is within us? So ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with a chorus of one of my favorite songs from my favorite artist. Maybe if you can help me get a beat going here. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm telling him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, you got to look at yourself and then you make that change. Thank you very much.